want to, you can just use your phone and snapshot that QR code right up there on the top right of the banner, and it'll take you right there. So we want to continue to do the right thing, and we are beseeching you all for your help to be able to continue to do so. So back to you guys.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I have a question, Matt. Isn't there a phone number also? What happens if people out there don't have computers or anything? All they've got's a phone.
They can watch it on their phone. Usually, yeah. They could also a lot of places have smart TVs. A lot of people have smart TVs. They can watch it on that by going to YouTube, Axe Media Group's YouTube page, and we'll be broadcasting live from there as well simultaneously. If they want to donate, they can.
They can always call in a donation, can't they?
Absolutely, they
Sure.
can call in a donation, and we will have those numbers available on that day. Meanwhile, they can find a computer and go to axemediagroup.com /please-donate.
We intend to have several people on phones on standby. The telethon is 12 hours a day, Monday and on Tuesday,
Yep.
from 8 till 8.
Wow.
And so we're going to have several people with cell phone in hand ready to take donations and pledges of donations, et cetera.
Absolutely, and we'll take credit card numbers, whatever you want to use to donate. We're also looking for sponsors, Dr. Paul.
Oh, yeah.
Sponsors for half hours and hours, and people, if you have a business and you want a 3-minute commercial, there's also pricing for that. So get in touch with us at 4321-axetreasurer@gmail.com for more information beforehand. Otherwise, we're going to be spouting this information all day, Monday and Tuesday, the 28th and 29th.
Good deal. All right, we're back here now with Bobby and her son Trent, and the subject of pharmacy. I heard you mention Drury University. I had a student when I was teaching at OTC who was going into law enforcement, and he was doing some background studies, getting ready to go into law enforcement. But what you were doing at Drury was great preparation for pharmaceutical school.
Mm-hmm.
I had a minor in chemistry. I had been a pre-med student for 2 years and I switched over to pre-theology. But chemistry was tough for me.
It is. It is. That's why I got a minor in it at the time, too, to be honest. I needed just a couple of classes, 2 or 3 classes, I believe, at the time to get the major in it, but I really didn't want to take those classes.
Now tell me, though, I hadn't thought about this. I know, Bobby, Nancy and I have seen you behind the counter many times, and there's always people working with you. They're not all full-fledged pharmacists. Some of them are technicians, right?
Right. I'm the only pharmacist that's there on duty at the time.
What's
and,
required to be a pharmaceutical technician?
Yeah, you go.
It really depends on the state. I believe some states require you to be a certified technician, which requires extra training. I know in the state of Missouri and in Arkansas, that's not necessarily the case. You would have to apply. You'd have to apply through the Missouri State Board of Pharmacy or whatever your state board of pharmacy is, and you'd have to go through a background check as well and have your fingerprints sent off. I know in Missouri, whenever I got mine here at the time, all I did was submit that application with my fingerprinting, and I'm pretty sure at that point you can temporarily work as a technician in the pharmacy while you're awaiting response from
Under
the board.
licensing,
Yeah.
correct, yeah. And some places require technicians to have training before they will hire you, and some places don't, so that's just dependent upon the business.
Kind of on-the-job training,
Right.
as long as you have a pharmacist in charge.
Correct.
A while ago, I was thinking there are folks who may not be turned on to donations to Axe Media Group because we are a faith-based organization, a division of Axe Ministry, which is now in its 27th year of existence. And then there are some people who will be turned on because we are a faith-based operation. I was thinking a while ago, as you were talking about becoming all the background checks and everything, I'm thinking, folks, like it or not, it pays to be good.
It does. It does. Yeah.
I mean, I'm putting it right down on a basic level. It pays to lead a good, clean life and think good, clean thoughts.
There you
It
go.
really does.
Yeah.
Now, Acts Ministry, on the other hand, in all fairness, lots of people stub their toes to the extent they could never do what you did as a police officer. They could never do what you did as a pharmaceutical technician, and they certainly could never become a pharmacist. But they're, because of the way Acts Ministry operates, we find a place for you if you stubbed your toe. We have all kinds of programs that enable people to live very good, solid, fruitful, and even profitable lives, because there are some things in this world that it is true that what people need is that hand up. And Acts Ministry is great at that. That's why the first motto was serving where needed. The second motto that Dr. Winan came up with, which I really like, is doing the right thing. So this telethon is called the Doing the Right Thing Telethon. And but how refreshing it is to get an insight into some of the things that are required for the people who are serving us. What would we do without pharmacies? You know, what would we do without them? I know this can be part of a project for your class, your classes. Where are you in pharmacy school right now?
So I'm in my fourth year of the doctorate program. So I'm in my last year with the plans to graduate in May. So I'm actually not in classes anymore. You take classes your first 3 years. You know, ours was based on like the same type of schedule that you would have, you know, in most undergraduate colleges, like August through May. But now I'm to the point where you do rotations or experiences in the field in various places. So for me to graduate, I have to do between this past May and April, you have to do 10 rotations, and there are requirements like you have to do you know, community pharmacy rotations. You have to do critical care, which could include, you know, being in the ICU. You could also do ambulatory care, or you're required to do ambulatory care, which a lot of times people don't know about those fields of pharmacy. Ambulatory care can vary widely in the type of experience it is. You could be working in a diabetes clinic, working on managing patients with diabetes. That could be what you do full time. You know, you could be working with patients with hypertension on a daily basis, or high cholesterol or dyslipidemia as well. Or you could be working doing a combination of those things. So there's a lot of different areas, you know, that you can experience, but those are like the three main fields that you have to have experience in before you can graduate. There are some other requirements, but it really depends on, you know, what school you go to and what their requirements are. But for us, you have to do 10 rotations in the various fields of pharmacy, and you have to have a minimum of 120 hours at each experience to fulfill that requirement, that one of 10.
Wow, that's a lot of stuff. That's like going to medical school. Really it is. What is the latest word about opioids now? This is a major issue all across the country. Anything new, information coming down the pike?
Nothing new and major that I'm aware of as far as, you know, big headlines that have hit recently. You know, I mean, there's the national push now. I mean, we realize that the U.S. has an opioid epidemic, you know, and cutting back on the prescribing habits of physicians. You know, the CDC, you know, recommends, you know, they have guidelines that, you know, recommend patients shouldn't be above this amount of opioids. We call it morphine milliequivalents, which is, you know, like the numbers that they use to determine, you know, safe limits. You know, the CDC says, you know, patients shouldn't be above this limit unless there's certain circumstances or criteria that are met. And then they have, you know, like another upper limit that they say you really should not exceed this limit. You know, it's not safe. So really trying to educate people, on how to change prescribing habits. There's really a big push for pharmacists to get involved on this end of it as well, because
That's new.
the prescribers are sending over these prescriptions, but pharmacists are the ones that are seeing all of the prescriptions and see what opioids, this doctor might be prescribing them that they don't know that another doctor is prescribing, a pain medication as well.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
we have opportunities for interventions that other healthcare providers may not have, to relay that information, to these providers as well. Or if we see an issue with, the dosing, because sometimes, everybody gets busy and, they may overlook something, or they may not, notice an interaction between the opioid and another medication that patient is on, or they may not know that another doctor is prescribing a medication that can cause serious issues with that opioid. Something, opioids are known to decrease breathing, your respiration rate, which is a big concern, especially when you get into using higher dosages of those medications. And another doctor may be prescribing a sleeping medication that someone takes at night that also decreases your breathing. So, they may not know that there's an interaction there. So it really gives pharmacists the opportunity to jump in and communicate with those prescribers, the nurses or other practitioners that might be involved. So it's really, right now, the big push is for education, for all healthcare providers on how we can all, help and decrease the use of opioids. They're really finding out that opioids for quite a while had been pushed to be, the main treatment of
I know, that's
acute
right.
and chronic pain.
Anything.
Yeah.
There's new research coming out suggesting that, opioids aren't the best for chronic pain. They work well for acute instances. If someone has an acute injury, if you break your leg and you have, serious pain, or if you have a procedure done, a surgery, and you come out and, they're showing that opioids work great for those acute circumstances, but for long-term use in chronic pain, that there are better options. If someone has nerve pain, there are a lot of other medications that can be used to help treat nerve pain, a lot of medications that patients may not be aware of, or may be more resistant to. It really just depends on the circumstance.
When you have surgery and they put that little bottle, little tube up there, it's got a plunger on it. What's in that for pain? Anybody know?
It depends. It depends what it is. It could be. Yeah.
Well,
Is it- yeah, they use a lot of they use a lot of fentanyl now. They use morphine.
Well,
There's- could be a lot of
Yeah.
I've told people the first time I had major surgery, big time, they had that thing hanging there, and they said, vaguely I remembered if you had pain, I had a good time. I told people, I called it Kickapoo Joey juice. So you have to be careful, the hospitals have to be very careful about how they handle pain. Everybody ought to be. I noticed that the patent medicine world, back when I was a kid, over-the-counter drugs were called patent medicine. And we were kind of reared on them. Now they call them supplements, and you can get a lot of good supplements in Natural Solutions Store. .bz, B as in boy, Z as in zebra. Go there and buy you 45 or so products. Anyway, we had all this so-called patent medicine that was to handle everything. Now I notice, because of the uproar over opioids, there's a company that's advertising pain relief, and they're using celebrities to advertise this stuff. You get it for, you take it for 3 weeks, and money-back guarantee. You have relief from pain, or you get your money back, and the cost is about $1 a day. I've seen that commercial many times. Opioids are a problem, but we had some other answers that came along here recently that were answers from many years ago. It's called hemp. Now, we're not talking about marijuana here.
Correct.
I had a guy when I had a counseling office many years ago, came in, and I looked in his eyes, and I said, I see you've been having a little affair with Mary Jane. He said, huh? I said, you know, Mary Hawana. Yeah. And see, I know that language, Matt. Matt's smiling over there.
Somebody was mentioning somebody from Hawaii.
So anyway, we're not talking that. We're talking about cannabis without the THC.
Correct.
Bobby, tell us what do we have here with these hemp products when there's no THC?
Well, right now what you're seeing a lot of are the CBD products. There's CBD oil, there's CBD, gummies, chewables, candies, all sorts of things. Which I think that, right now I think they're finding a lot of good things that are coming from them. I think in the future we're going to find that there's a lot more. Kind of some of the issues with that are there's really no specific research because pharmaceutical companies don't want to get involved.
No, of course not.
They don't want to spend billions of dollars on a product that's already out that people are using. So it's a little hard. You can't like on a pain medicine that's prescription, you can see all the research on it and see what all has been done and how it's worked and how it's been used. And these products, there's not really anything, too much other than what you read, which is kind of hearsay, word by mouth, which is great. I mean, I think it has a lot of good results with
Well,
it.
Matt has had wonderful success with pain relief from an ointment, haven't you, Matt?
Super hemp balm.
Super
Yes,
hemp
CBD.
balm, yeah.
Based.
We have a couple of minutes here. I wanted to say that I am pleased that Acts Ministry, under the leadership of Dr. Jim Wining, was brave enough to be a groundbreaker about hemp and CBD. And I remember when this first came to our attention, there were some people who were upset. Some of these people who have a very narrow outlook on certain things, areas of life. But Jim stuck with it, and Acts Ministry stuck with it. And as a result, there are hemp products that are not, there's nothing there to get you high. They're there
Right.
for pain
Right.
relief that you find on the naturalsolutionstore.bz website. And I also think it's important to mention that people hear about the FDA, and many of them don't know that's the Federal Drug Administration. People hear the CDC, and they don't know that stands for Center for Disease Control. So, folks, you're going to be hearing more about FDA and CDC. Remember what they stand for and what they are about. According to this clock, Matt, it's 10:23, 10:24. Is that right? Okay, folks, what a joy. We could do a dozen programs. We really could. We'll have to do it again, Trent.
Yeah, it's been great. Thank you.
And Bobby,
you.
we'll do it.
Absolutely.
And if you can get Kenny, we'll see what we can do. Kenny, hang on. We're determined to get you here. Well, it's time for my famous slow close. And this is the way it goes. Folks, you've been watching the Happy Hour. It is the friendliest show on radio. It's the best look on Facebook. It'll satisfy every rube that watches YouTube. And if you're a Twitter fan, you'll become a glitter fan. I tell you that for a fact. Every Friday morning, 9:30 until 10:25, which comes up in about 8 seconds. Seriously, folks, be with us. Watch for the telethon. And thank you very much, Bobby. Thank you, Trent.
It's been a
Thank
pleasure.
you.
Love
Thank you.
having you. We'll
Absolutely.
do it again. Goodbye until next Friday, same time.